Mazel tov. We signed the contract. You did well. I thought you just go to take a look.
Yeah, that's a look. I didn't say I'm not going to do anything. I said, take a look. I just want to take a look.
Oh, gosh.
Baruch Hashem, your father had different cheshbenis. I guess he also liked it, in a certain sense. He wanted to do the chesed that he did with it.
There's something, there is
he
something.
He did a lot of chesed also. He did for things.
Yeah, definitely.
Baruch Hashem, that's what I'm saying. So, I guess, okay, what do you tell you? If you made money, it's a very good.
So the MS is they went in with a plan thinking, I think obviously they should learn their lesson that we're not making money, but they went in with a plan. If this happens like that and like that, we could make X amount of money. And it sounded like it was
good,
but of course they miscalculated that. We didn't think about this problem and that problem, and all the money that you could have made, that's already gone. Now the shot is how much you're losing.
Like always, that's the cheshbein, it's better the benishel, that's all me.
The regular business is doing much better.
Yeah, but
I mean, now, they made a lot of money with COVID. Now COVID's slowing down, we'll see what happens. But Abishta has a lot of...
But people are still opening all over the place. So obviously there must be some tachlis.
Some of them thinking that it's going to continue to go the way it was, which we know it's seemingly not going to continue. Like the insurance companies already stopping to pay all these things.
You guess I never knew there were so many sick people. I mean, like this, I remember as a kid, you only had an ER. There was nothing else. Everybody went to the ER. They didn't charge in the ER. It was usually, then all of a sudden they charge close to $1,000.
Thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and they this doctor and this doctor. I didn't even see them. They didn't even see me. Didn't make a difference.
They charge your rent already for an hour.
It was such a crooked. So now you need simply, for that reason, just simply to rip me off the ERs. And
that's why the insurances are
full.
That's why the insurances are paying for the urgent cares because it's whatever it is, it's cheaper than the ER.
Right. And the ER, and yet the ER is full. Don't even the ER be empty at least. Okay, here it's still full.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I'm just crazy. So behind hypochondriacs around the world.
And COVID didn't help the hypochondriacs either.
That's for sure. That everybody, please take my thing, please take my thing.
That's what she did.
Separate with my name.
I was talking to the Shiva's son about Benny, and spoke to Louis Greenspan about
trying him.
He's trying to push the shit to make a replacement.
Another guy they have to take him to the house. I don't got to pay out of pocket. I don't know exactly. My kids take care of it. Once I have my kids mission around, there are too many bosses. So, okay, so we'll see if they try to fix it, tighten up the other muscles around it that'll work. Then I have this guy, what's his name, Kreisman in the Borough Park, that he's a pain doctor, and he put in padding years
Tommy
ago.
Tommy Kreisman?
His first name, I don't remember.
I knew his kids.
So he put in years ago, about 30 years ago, and pretty much lasted me for all those years.
Really?
Yeah. So he wants to do it again. I thought he was doing it in the middle. This all started with a chol. I was able to walk a couple of blocks by myself, but I wasn't able to go. The big distance I wasn't able to go. But at least in the house and this and that, I had no problem.
Yeah.
Then they told me about stem cells. Oh, now we'll get a refuah shleima. So I wasn't the candidate for it. And they put something else in. I was probably allergic to it. I fell 2 times with it.
Wow.
And so Mela, whatever the situation we're in now. But hopefully, who knows?
No, Shiva can't stay in a wheelchair. Shiva can't stay in a wheelchair. It's something
No,
to do.
Obviously in the house, depends on the day. Some days, like I gotta actually go from the wheelchair from upstairs to downstairs to garden or whatever it is they go to eat, to do anything. Sometimes it's I can do with a walker.
So she was able to swim still? And once upon a time she was swimming, no?
Yeah, that would help, but I don't have really the availability of,
There's no pool around anymore? There was
not
a pool,
really.
on the property, no?
It's not really a pool. it's made for these kids, and it forces water against them, which would probably do the job if there'd be privacy. I don't know if there is. So that's all. Hashem.
Probably good even if Toshib is not swimming, even just to be in the, if the water is warm and to be able to move the legs and stuff, to be a little more gentle.
Could be. I mean, I'm doing 4 therapies. I mean, 4 therapies a week, you know. So that's enough to kill you.
Wow.
Yeah, Hashem.
So keep the Toshib moving.
Okay, so it's for Hashem. And you're okay, you find the family, everything.
I left my old job about a month ago to join the family.
Okay.
I spoke to my rabbi, Cohen, So I was asking him because where I wasn't making parnasa. The family was getting busy, and there was seemingly more opportunity to expand, but they needed more help.
Okay.
So the right thing to do is to mishhalda with them and to help them grow their business.
The right thing to do is what God wants you to do, meaning I don't know what to do. But I have a option to do it. That means God put that option into me. So protect target. So he gave you the Eitzel Miknenirsen.
My brother just quoted that this week in the Shiva.
Oh, good.
Just quoted this week. Last week we were talking about this. A mistake to get into this was not. This Shiva once told us you can't take credit for the good ideas.
Right.
You can't take credit for the
bad ideas. And that's the important part. And once he gave you the idea, if he wants to kill you, he can kill you anyway. It doesn't make a difference. So he's giving me an idea, so maybe if I go want you to do it, so do it. Here's the pasuk.
The Revison telling me about the 7-Up idea. Revison's 7-Up shop.
זכרת את השם לקח יבד שנס לחוקך לעשות זכויות. וסידקה יש השם לקח, הוא יויד לך עצה למקננרסן. ולא לקיים יש. So he's the one that did it. So what do you do?
Try to follow along whatever he's directing.
Right, anything. I don't know what to do. He gave you the answers, so take it.
Yeah.
He didn't give me the answers, so I'm not taking it. But you got the answers, so please take it. Okay, that time clock is right.
10:57 it says.
57, yeah. Nice for me. Mazel tov. Thank you. Thank you. Aleichem shalom.
Can I get a bracha from the Shiur?
Hmm?
Can I get a bracha from the Shiur?
Yeah, for what?
Zivuk.
For what? Zero. And what are you doing about it yourself? I'm serious. What's your status on it? You think it's going to come pop into your...
No.
Okay, good. It may. I'm not going to tell you it won't. The bench should may make it an easy to find. But normally you got to do something.
Which I do.
So what are you doing? I mean, that's the part that you got to figure out. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? A lot of times guys, but I got to do what I don't take care of it if I push it. Hey, if I didn't take care of it, there's no question about it. But the might say, he wants you to do something about it.
Which I do.
That's what you got to figure out. You got to make yourself where you can see girls, where you're ready for it. Who makes your dates?
Mother.
That's what I'm saying. How old are you?
23.
23. That maybe, according to one man, the Gemara, you may have one more year where she can have a right to do that. After that, she's out. You're the one that does it. Really, you should be doing it already because according to the other man, even after 22, you should have started doing that. Meaning, I need her help. Now, you gave me 20 papers here. I'm interested in this one. Find out about it. But she says, I think you should take that one. Don't do it. And by Shvu, it's a real person.
My name is Henry Zembrowski. I think we spoke on the phone a couple of weeks ago. Daniel Ginsburg put us in touch.
How are you?
Thank you. Again, a lot of this.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. You remember I had the story. I still don't have a maskana, but if I can get a continuous bracha, I appreciate it.
God should be good.
Uncle Reuven. Is Rabbi Newberger?
Huh?
Rabbi Newberger.
Oh, Shalom Aleichem, it's Martin. How are you? Can't see you. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. Sam. Now that you're here, you might as well sit down. How are you doing? Okay. The good night of Shabbos. I think they advertise this as a special shiur. So what I'm going to try and do is trying to combine why all these special Shabbosim come out around this time of the year, from Purim to Pesach. Okay, Pesach is Azman Gula. It's more than Azman Gula. That's the time that we became actual nation, and we'll talk about that along the way. Purim is the beginning of the Gula in the future, that the Rebbeinu Shalom Mishenichnas Adar Ma'avim Simcha starts Moderation, goes 3 months till hopefully the Gula will come at that time. And try to put them together. Anyway, the first of the special Shabbosim is called Parshas Shkolim, and Parshas Shkolim has a very funny, so strange, if you want to put it, way of presenting itself. The Rebbeinu tells us, I want you to count Klal Yisrael in order to raise them up. But I want you to take a machzah shekel from them, that they shouldn't be punished because you're counting them. And it's a very strange halacha. If I'm not supposed to be counting them, so don't count. If I'm supposed to be counting them, so what's wrong with counting them? What do I need a kapara for counting them, and you're telling me I have to count them? It doesn't make any sense. So pshat is this: why would we want to count Klal Yisrael, period? I mean, obviously, as far as people, there is an Indian of a census. There's no question about it. You have to know how many kids are born in the area, how many yeshivas you're going to need. We have these problems in areas which are growing fast, and you don't have enough yeshivas to keep up with them. So obviously, we do need a census. We have to know how many Jews it is. What do you tell me? Don't count them. Of course, I got to count them. I have to know how many seats I need in shul. Whatever it is, I'm not talking about what other timing of census are, but the Pashidus time of census, of course there's a point of censuses. And the Rebbeinu wants that census. And what's the census that he really wants, though? Is he wants to know how many people do I have with me. For instance, we want to have an army. We have a very populous country. Billions of people, millions of people, whatever it is. They want to put together an army. Unfortunately, they're all 4 Fs. So what are you going to do? What army do you have? You want to come into a shul in a restaurant, and you want to chap a mincha, right? Everyone there, you have a packed house. I ask how many Shemer Shabbos are in this place. You got 3 guys. You have no minyan. What are you going to do? We're not talking about Tinich Shenishba and all this thing. I'm talking about Machal Shabbos. They don't count. So what good are they? So it's not numbers. What I want to know what you are. So when the Rebbeinu says to us, I want you to be one, I want you to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. That's for chizuk. In other words, before Shavuos, by Midbar is always before Shavuos. That means we always count before we kabel the Torah. It's like the Lashon of the Bank of Emden Siddur. I think in Yiddish they used to be count and be mekabel. In other words, what's count? They got to do mekabel the Torah. When Moshe Rabbeinu was one, I'm one. What are you kidding around? Moshe Rabbeinu is one. You're one. What kind of one are you kidding Moshe Rabbeinu? All of us, you are one. If I live up to the potential that I can produce, then I'm one. God didn't give me the keiches he gave Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu has to live up to his potential. I have to live up to my potential. But if I do, I'm the same one as Moshe Rabbeinu is. That's what I want to know. I want to know how many people are doing their potential. That's what the bench's resh means. Then we can go to Tish. These are the people I can count on. These are the people, what do you call them? Unfortunately, a lot of people don't make it. They claim to be that high. They try to be that high, but they don't make it. So what happens if you don't make it? So l'chayre comes an einish because you claimed you won, and it's a false claim. So the bench, it's an einish. But the bench wants you to keep trying, because if you don't keep trying, you'll never make it for sure. In other words, okay, this year I wasn't one, but maybe next year I will be. So therefore I'll try it again next year. You find this, that it's such an union of a trial. I mean, trying to do something is the you have by benching. Found a Gemara, a stranger got it. In the third pasuk, Yisa Hashem Panei Belecha v'Yasem Chol Shalom. So it means I show favoritism. The Malachim asked the Benishim, you say Lisa upon him. You don't show favoritism. So how all of a sudden you tell me you show favoritism? So the Benishim answers, how can I not show favoritism? I was Mechayiv, now when do you have to bench? Only when you have Svia, when you're full. And these people bench even when they have Kazayis or Kebeya. Okay? So I owe them a favor. Is that a favor? Let me ask you, if they would eat a chotzi kazayis, what would you say about the person? Should I bench you? Tell me it's a brach levatollah. It's a brach levatollah. So why are you telling me it's a yichus? It's not a yichus, it's a brach levatollah. Right? Elavos, no. If I truly feel gratitude, I'm a chiv to bench. If I don't, the benchim is not expecting gratitude from me until v'savaita. But if I feel gratitude after achilus and kazayis or beya, in other words, I can feel that a tremendous hanoyif that the benchim gave me, either al-schius, or I actually had the pleasure of something, whatever it is, and I feel gratitude, I want to thank you, you mechuyev min ha-Torah to thank him. It answers a lot of questions, how a cotton can be moitzi gadol. But I'm not getting involved in that now. But the mice is the fact that this achiv de reise to bench if you actually feel gratitude. And that's this din that we're talking about. It's not after the Rabbanan made the law. If the Rabbanan made the law, it's a Bachar Torah. It wouldn't help. All of us people bench that way anyway. So Chazal came along and they said, since there are people that feel gratitude after G'dayis Gebeya, so let's make a takone that they should have to bench, and then maybe they'll get used to benching at that time, and they'll feel gratitude after G'dayis B'chayv Tak Midaraisa. So there's a point of training us to become to Madrege, and that's the point over here also. And this is even by Korbanos like that we do Korban Oila. I'm not going into what it's for, but the Korban Oila, even though the person, what he's trying to prove with the Korban Oila, he was not able to, in other words, because inside he didn't feel it. But the mice is it's not koch chulum ba'azore, because the bench was magdish the mizbeach before we put the stuff on the mizbeach. So therefore, it's a reich nechoyach when we put the stuff on. And why the bench should make it that way instead of us having to make it into a reich nechoyach is because the bench wants us to keep trying. Now, if you didn't make it the first time, keep trying. So this is the point of Shavuos, that's the point of that. Now, the second time that we do it, obviously, is before Purim. And what was that purpose? That happens to be a Sharet Shuvah, and talks about, the reality of having to get drunk on Purim, right? And he brings down that his father, B'Shem HaGadol, that's not himself, that his father used to, when he was younger, he would get drunk Yipshute. When he got older, he was Yaitzu with the Ramah, with going to sleep. Like the Chayre, we're all against drunkies. drunk drive, well, drinking anyway, on Purim to get drunk. Why? Because kids do the wrong thing, they do what they call, they get billed, they go whatever things, so you don't really want them getting drunk, okay? So here he's telling me he got drunk, he was a miler, or he said he did it at least, so obviously kids can bring the lie, you see he did it, so why can't we do it, whatever it is. What would be the purpose of it? I believe the purpose is nichnas yayin yotzasoid. A person has to know what's wrong with him, and he has to know what kind of person he truly is. Now, if he never lets himself, never lets his inhibitions go, he'll never know who he is. And therefore, Purim will let your inhibitions go. And then you'll find out what a not a good person you are. And maybe you'll do tshuva, and you'll be able to straighten out. And that's the tachlis of it. But you have to do that. If you don't do that, you're not going to find out what's wrong. So that's basically what the purpose of shkolim is, for what he called. Now that leads you into, Shkolim leads you into, what do you call it, Zocha. Now, Zocha, you have a lot of machlekes on it. I'm sure it's affected the community here. Do we have a women's minyan? Don't we have a women's minyan? Daki shali shaleichum mechama, not daki shali shaleichum mechama. What does this got to do with Parshas Zocha? Okay. Oh, what do you mean, Zocha? Why by Amalek? They'll tell you 20 stories. This guy killed an Amaleki, he killed an Amaleki, whatever it is. Personally, I don't believe any of them, but that's my personal belief. That has nothing to do with anything. And none of these people, I don't think, ever asked somebody, did you personally kill an Amaleki or not? It's all a story I heard. So all of this is meaningless. Okay, but why am I saying what I'm saying? So I'm going to tell you what how much my Rebbe affected me, okay? When I was in Telz, I'm going back over 70 years ago, okay? So Rebbe Lemeir was alive then, and it was Purim, and I must have had something, because I don't think I would have had the guts to go over to him like this. He was a very stark mensch, or at least he gave you that feeling, you better know what you're doing when you're coming over here. And so I did go over and I asked him a simple kasha on Purim. I said, if we were mekayim the mitzvah mechias hamalek, then there'd only be 612 mitzvahs in the Torah. And the Torah needs 613 mitzvahs. So how could you have a Torah shlema if we wiped out Amalek? That was my kasha to him. Okay? And on that he answered me that we're not talking about the nation of Amalek, we're talking about the ideals of Amalek. In other words, the kfir of Amalek. Okay. And then, after he told me that, I don't know if it was that year or in time later, I saw it kipshute. Well, I'll show you what I mean. Taran Shitis that hold, if you miss Parshas Zocha, you yetzer with the kriya of Purim on Purim, the Parshas Zocha. And according to what I just told you, l'chayr, that's not true. Now, why do I say that's l'chayr not true? Let's see what it's says. Yishalach, let's find it over there. Yeah. Here's the lashon. Vayem Hashem Moshe b'sefer Seforim b'sefer Torah shebiksav v'sim b'oznei Yeshua Torah shebal peh ki mocha emche zech Amalek. I will destroy Amalek. I didn't ask you to do anything. By Shalom Melech, I asked him to do it. Fine, that's when I asked him. But until then, you don't have any. I'm destroying Amalek. Okay. Vayiva Moshe mizbech v'yikra Shema Shem Nisi vayem ki yod al keisko muchomer laHashem b'Amalek midoda. It's a war between Hashem and Amalek. It has nothing to do with me. Okay. So therefore, I'm not yetz with that. God's not asking you to kill anybody. If he wants to kill anybody, he can do it himself. He doesn't need you to do it for him. And all they have to do is make a little bit of a magefa, and all of Amalekis die. They find some kind of a gene in the Amaleki thing there, and they're all dead. That wouldn't be a kashi, right? Now let's see what state what we read. Okay. Here's a completely different idea. Just take me a minute to find it. That's it. So, yeah. Zochres hashoasu lecho Amalek. What Amalek did to you. There was what hashokoch baderech vayzanef kol shol macharecha You were not a Yorei Elokim yet, but they weren't the Yorei Elokim. However, the Psukim go, when God gives you menucha from all your enemies, and I assume that means Amalek too. There's no more Amalek anymore. Right? I have no menucha. I have menucha. No enemies anymore. What am I supposed to do? Then wipe out the memory of Amalek. Where? In you. So the comment says pretty straight that there is no mitzvah at all to kill out Amalek. The Ikar is to work on yourself to wipe out Amalek. Now, what is the work of the Amalek that exists in you? The only Amalek that exists in me is the kfirah. I don't believe in God. What do you mean you don't believe in God? Of course I believe in God. No, you won't go to shul. You won't pay money here. Well, what do you mean I don't believe in God? Of course, right? Yeah, it's part of social life. We believe in God. But do I really believe in God? This was tested every single day. Okay? Every single day. This is a pasuk in Parshas Shoftim that says over there, and it puts it in this way. Rashi is, I'm quoting your Rashi. It's a pasuk before Chamishi in Shoftim. Tamen ti Hashem lekecha. Yeah. His halachima b'tmimus b'titzapeloi. Now go with him with innocence, like not expecting anything. Just go whatever he tells you, and don't just hope to him. Don't look for the future, right? Whatever comes upon you, kabel b'tmimus, accept with tmimus. For us, and then then you're part of him and his chelik. This is a sifra, and the sifra, the Malbim even quotes him to the extent that if you look for the future, then not only you don't find the future, but you lose hashgacha pratis. So therefore, if you even have hashgacha pratis, you lose it. So therefore, now when you go, the Ramban says he talks about astrologers. He believes in it as a science, as a chokhmah, and whatever he explains it to. There's also in that Parshas from the beginning of the Navi Parshas, which a few psukim before. And he says that if they tell you that, you're going to die. You went to the doctor yesterday. The doctor told him, you have this and this cancer, stage 4. You got about 2 months to live. And if you don't say, it doesn't apply to me, that's for a goyim maybe, but not for me, you're even essa. And even essa for not saying something? Yeah, you're even essa for not saying, because I don't believe. And what's pshat, the pshat is all the averages that are told to you in the world, they're not coming from Jews. They're coming from the world. In other words, 95% of the people got this cancer, they die. But 5% live, right? 95% die, 5% live. You have from this thing is this and this, and this and this. I'm from the 5%. Doesn't apply to me, your averages. Your averages are for goyim, for the world, not for yid. I got a shkocha pratis. I have no shaykhis to the world. And that's what the Ramban is telling you. So there's a bit different that we have to believe. Now, what happens in life, I'm sure wait 1 second. What happens in life, besides the tests that the Rebbeinu Shem gives us, and he gives it to us daily, not Avram Avinu only. Every one of us gets a test daily on betochen, whether it's business, whether it's health, whether it's stop meeting somebody. Doesn't make a difference. Is things going to work out or not going to work out for me today? And the trouble with the way the world was, and the way we all are, in a way, something bad happens to someone, and you not forget about bad. I was supposed to catch a bus, and it's the 9 o'clock bus. That's again, I'm always get it, no problem. Today I came at 8:55 and I missed it because it came at 8:50. And I missed the bus. Right? So what do you say normally? Rotten luck, right? I came at 9:05 and I got the bus. Oh, wonderful luck, right? But do you ever think about what happens for the rest of the day because of your luck? You think it's luck? Well, the Rebbeinu shouldn't put you on that bus. So what happened for the rest of the day? Something must have happened that I came 5 minutes early or came 5 minutes late. So find out. Then you'll see that there's a God in the world. Okay, but anyway, until I discover that, I'm still looking around and then saying this thing. So I have this problem. A seemingly bad thing happened to me, and I'm very worried, good or bad. So what am I supposed to do? So first of all, this is what I believe, we'll go into this in a second, that the first thing a person is supposed to say when something seemingly bad, I didn't say it's bad, I said seemingly bad, came about, you're supposed to say Gamzu L'Tova. This, what is seemingly bad, is good. What do you mean, you crazy? It's seemingly bad, it's bad. Let's just taste my cup, right? No. Let's take the mice with the Gemara of Nachamish Gamzu. What happened? They sent him in with a box of jewels to bribe the Roman emperor, right? And the hotel keeper, whatever it is there, he steals my jewels and he fills it up with sand, right? And he says, Gamzu L'Tova, when did he doesn't even bother looking at it until he gets to the Melech. The Melech opens up the box, what's going on here? There's sand there, what can you do? And all of a sudden, Eliyahu Navi shows up, standing next to him, dressed as a Roman, and he says, this sand is what Gedol Oimer, that Avram Avinu used against Gedol Oimer. History they knew, so when they knew there was such a battle, they knew that Avram beat Gedol Oimer, so they want to know how we did it. So this is the sand. This became weapons, this became soldiers, this became whatever it became. I said, I'll try it. And he tries it, and that's exactly what happened. So all of a sudden, he returns, he gives back to Klal Yisrael this box, fills it up with jewels. He probably gives better jewels than the Jews gave him. And he also was Mevatel D'Gzeira, and he became a good friend of the Jews. Now, he could have done this all because he was afraid. Because if they wouldn't give me a little box like this, they must have some kind of pile like that. So I can't answer you why he did it. But Lamaisa, he did it. And therefore, it was never bad. The fact there was sand in there was never bad. It was good. Because if it would have been without the sand, what would have been? I gave the bribe already to the Melech. The Melech he'll decide if he wants to accept the bribe. He accepted, he took it, that's for sure. But he wants to do what you're asking him. That's the shayla. You have no guarantee that he wants to do it. Right? So therefore, that you'll be in the same suffix. Just hopefully he'll live up to it. But this way, it was a guarantee that it's going to. So it was good. So that comes with the type. It never was bad. If a guy, that I'll give you in a second, okay. And what happens if it is bad? Comes out that Takya, it doesn't work out. It's like a lot of cholos came because of it, and whatever it is there. Then I'm supposed to say, called the Avraham on the top of it. What does that mean? What's the mice with that? That's Rabbi Akiva in Barachas. What happens? He came to a town. He wanted to be accepted, and somebody should invite him to spend the night. Nobody does. He has to sleep on the cold, hard ground outside. Has to go camping that night, and he wasn't prepared for it. So, okay, so he's camping. He also wants to learn a little bit that night, and the wind keeps blowing out his candle. He has his transportation with him. His mule, he gets eaten up. He has his alarm clock, the rooster, he gets eaten up. So now he lost that night. He lost the rooster, lost the mule. He couldn't learn that night. He slept on cold, hard ground. Right? So Chayr was a pretty bad night. Right? He comes into the town the next morning and he finds the whole town is wiped out. If he would have been in that town, he also would have been killed. If his donkey would have brayed, they would have found him. If they would have seen the candle, they would have killed him. If they would have seen the rooster hear the rooster crow, they would have killed him. So whatever it is there, it was a lot better than dying, right? Losing these things. But it was not a good night. You can't say he gained anything that night. He lost that night. For compared to a different night, it was not a good night. He just lived. That's all the Benshah made a nest. They didn't get killed. That's called the Avachim L'Tavavi. L'chol HaPoches, it's a kapore. If it doesn't work out for Mami something good, at least the kapore it will be. So that's a secondary step. I can actually tell you a true story which just happened last Pesach about this. Okay, there was a person who generally is a worrier, and they had to move from one dira to another dira, one house to another house. It was into a smaller downsizing a house. Okay, the woman happened to have had massive furniture from her first marriage. She married the second guy. She's an almona, so she's and it don't fit in the new house. It's too big. On the other hand, so give it away. Nobody will take it. It's so massive. Nobody needs such furniture anymore. Okay, so she doesn't have any furniture. Has no clothes. She's moving to a new neighborhood. Has no clothes. She feels that I got to show something. I have no money. What am I going to do? Okay. Bitter tzolos, right? He goes away to a kid for Pesach and comes home. And the house is so flooded. A major pipe must have busted. The house had to be rebuilt. Obviously, she had to move. It wasn't her house, so they had to move out. And the house had to be rebuilt. Okay, now I got really jealous, right? I don't even have a place to live. Until I move into my new apartment, I have nothing left, right? And then she discovers that her insurance policy was replacement value, not just loss. Replacement value, they had to pay for this massive furniture as antiques, $10,000 a piece or something like that. All of a sudden, I got money for my furniture, I got money for my clothes, I got money. So is the flood a bad thing or a good thing? It solved all her problems. She didn't know what to do with the stuff. She didn't know the way she could move this thing. Solved all problems. You have nothing to move. You have nothing to do. So now you have Baruch Hashem. That's called that's the toif. Person loses a job, for instance, and I give him a simple motion. He's a CEO, making $3 million a year, right? So he felt him the king geld. It's a bezoyin. You got fired from your position, right? So he meets his friend and he's complaining, oh boy, I got fired. He says to him, they didn't give you a package? He said, of course they gave me a package. They gave me $10 million. What do you call it? Severance. And they gave me this and this and this and this. But they fired me. So he said to him, when was the last time you had a vacation? Oh, not since I started working for this company. Okay, so you didn't have a vacation in 10 years. Okay. When was the last time you learned? Learned? Not since I left yeshiva. Whoever learned and things. Okay, if that's the case, why don't you take a year off? You have no problem with money. Take a year off. Sit down and learn. Enjoy yourself. Rest up. That's what the guy does. At the end of the year, he meets a friend of his that was in the same business that he was in. He says to me, I never offered you a job. You know why? Because I don't steal employees. You were working for the other guy. I didn't hire you for that thing. But now that you're not working for you, I'll pay you double for whatever you made. His getting fired, was that a good thing or a bad thing? That's Gamsu L'Taiva. So it's always a matziv of Gamsu L'Taiva. And that's really what we're supposed to say when we have this problem of something seemingly bad, meaning, do you trust in me? You don't trust in me. Now you'll ask me, why should I trust God? Why should I rely on the Rebbeinu Shalom? I'm a tzaddik, I'm a good guy. Why am I allowed to? Because it says, I am the one that feeds you. I make everybody happy. Yeah, how many people have you ever met in life that are happy? That's what it says. That's what the pasuk says. It's not a tefillah. It's a statement of fact. You open your hand and you feed everybody. The English, the dictionary, want, need is the same thing, but the way we speak, want means I'd like to have it. Need is I must have it, right? And I give everybody what they want, what they would like to have. I'm saying so everybody should be a happy person. It doesn't exist. Why? That's on us. We're really the ones that mess that up. The Rebbeinu Shalom is Meisvot Abalas Mikvados had a conversation with the Rebbeinu Shalom, or whatever it means. And he was a poor man, and he wasn't happy about his massive. And the Rebbeinu Shalom said, "You want me to start the world over again?" He said, "Yeah." So he said, okay, but even the second time around, I can't guarantee you that you'll be rich. Why? Because that's totally mazel. What do you mean it's totally mazel? God's the one that makes the world. There's no Einish yet. What do you mean it's totally mazel? Reuven made, I don't know why he made it. I can't answer, I'm not getting involved in that, but he made a world that there should be chesed in there. And in order that there should be chesed, there has to be givers and takers. If there are only givers and no takers, there's no chesed. If there are only takers, no givers, there's no chesed. So there has to be givers and takers. Before there's a concept of Einish, the guy hasn't lived yet. So how are we going to have givers and takers? So the only way we can do that is the Benish will say the first 50 guys are givers, the second 50 guys are takers. He throws up the neshamas one way. On this part of the line, I don't care how the Benish does it, but the Benish makes it that you're born in a certain matzav. But the Benish says, I guarantee you that you can be happy in the matzav that I'm making you. Whether you're poor, you can play stickball, you can play soup ball, you can play kick the can, you can play Vingalivio, and don't cost you a penny. And if I'm a rich kid, I have to have the knife and the sword and the thing, and this way I had a broomstick, and if I started serving as a broom, it also was a bat, and it was a spear, and it was a sword, and it was a rifle, and all of it is one stick. Okay, all of us, same happiness as the other guy. Absolutely no mile of it. There was a guy, you'll tell him, I'm going to take you into a fancy restaurant. They'll give you an aged rib steak. Costs you about $300 normally, and I'll treat you. And the guy says, what do I need with this thing? I can't stand the smell of it. I don't want the thing there. Give me 2 francs, and 3 francs probably be bigger, and 2 beers, and 2 tickets to the Giant game, and I'm a happy man. Let's lace them on a cup with all this stuff there. And I've met people like that they go in, the first question they ask is, what's the most expensive item on your menu? What do you care what the most expensive item on the menu is? Do you like it or you don't like it? No, I'm a rich guy, I gotta eat what's the first thing on the menu. Right? I was once with a guy, he was hungry, and the steak to make is about a half hour. So he's ordering the soup, and he's ordering a Vorspeise. And I say to him, if you're hungry, there's a deli right around the corner. You can get a sandwich. And then you'll be full and everything. It takes 2 minutes. And get in there. I don't go to delis. Why don't you go to delis? It's past minute. And even if I went to a deli, I'd have to order a steak. I couldn't get the franks that I like. Okay? I'll prove it to you. We go to chasnas, fancy chasnas, right? And where we go to the shmog. And where's the biggest lines? This is what I'm told. I wouldn't line up there because it's a thing. They go to the carving station. Okay, what do they give you at the carving station? Corned beef, pastrami, whatever, some other stuff there that you normally get in a regular restaurant, in a deli. I went into a deli and I wanted to have a good meal. I get myself, let's say, a pastrami on club, right? A side of French, right? A soda. Very good. Here they cut up this piece of, the guy don't even know how to cut a piece of meat, cuts them into cubes, right? He puts a little bit on the plate, then you say, you want some mustard with it? There's mustard right over there. So how do you take it? You take a spoonful of mustard, right? The taste is not spread out over a piece of bread. It goes, you have to stick your thing into that. You're standing, not even sitting, right? And stuff like that. And this you're doing, and this you enjoy. So why are you doing it? Because I don't go to delis. So how am I ever going to eat corned beef? Right? I like corned beef enough that if you're at least paying $100 a person for the meal, then I can go and enjoy the corned beef. If you're not paying that for a meal, I'm going to enjoy the corned beef. So you're killing yourself. You're the one that's doing it. Now, the Benshim gave you a tevet to be able to be a poor man, but you want to be a rich man. So I'm following what the other guys did, and that's not made for me necessarily. So that's the basic machlekes I have in my life, why I ruin it. Benshim gave me a way to enjoy life, but I killed it myself. And this is so that is the lesson of Zohar, really, that they have to be oiker the kfir in me Trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What about safety? No, we talked about money. What about safety? How do I know I'm sick? The doctor just diagnosed me, and whatever it is, how am I able to say, it doesn't apply to me, stuff like that? Shem Epsay Hashem. In other words, but you got to be a pessy. You got to be a guy, not a guy who doesn't rely. And it could be, and this is, I believe this, guys may agree with me or not, but this is Nagei attack at the Gabachim to go out to soil. When I tell them they're not allowed to go on buses. We're hearing right now, unfortunately, attacks in Eretz Yisrael, right? How does that apply to me as an American bacher? Am I allowed to be there? An Israeli is allowed to be there because he lives there. So he lives there, he's going to Shem Hashem. He has to go, he has to live. There's a certain basic quality that you have to have in life. Go on buses, go on planes, go whatever it is there, and that I'm allowed to do. But you don't belong there. Why are you there? Oh, I want to be there. Oh, you want to be there? Want to be there is different rules than when I have to be there. So, Mamela, you have to take taxes, take things there because you have to be more protected. You're going to have to go on maybe an unscheduled bus, an armored bus, something. But there has to be some kind of a protection more than if I live there. I can't say, well, they go on buses, so I can go on buses. It doesn't work that way. Years ago, we saw it in the Feyrish that most of the Chutzlords, people were the ones that got killed. But the Maisa, this time, and even this time, true, one was the Ukrainians, I think, was where they killed the ones in Bnei Brak. Where the thing there. There was attack outside people from the thing there. So they have a different muscle. Those are the two things that I'm allowed to rely on for those two reasons. And now, do you rely on me or not? If you don't rely on me, so I don't give you the service. When you rely on me, I'll give you the service. Okay. That's that. Then we coming into Parshas Parah and how to listen to the Torah. And it's a funny thing. In Parshas Parah, the way the Rashi describes the Chayk, that this is a thing we don't, why are you doing this? You gotta be nuts, right? Why am I doing it? Because I told you to do it. Therefore we're doing it. So you're spending Kol Hein de Alma on a Parah Aduma, and it's who knows what the reason for it. You don't have any reason for it, and that's what became we do it. And Tomer Ben Esina said you'd pay Kol Hein de Alma, you would pay more than $1 million. Right? Why? So I said, first of all, two questions. As I'm going to read you a pasuk in Parshas Eschanan, and which L'chayre knocks off this Rashi completely. Pasuk right after Sheni. Rei limad yasam chukim mishpotim, teaching chukim mishpotim, kashetzvani Hashem, right? Ushmartem vasisam, remember to do them, learn them and do them. Ki hi chochmaschem ubinaschem leini amen. This is what makes you considered smart people, so the Koreans can start learning Talmud because they think they're going to make them smart, right? Asher yishmun es kol hachukim ha'ele, they'll hear these chukim. The chukim are going to make them smart. Chukim, they don't even make any sense. How they can make me smart? Said Mishpatim, I will understand. It says chukim. So God, the Droshes Haran asked this question, and he gives an answer, a medical type of answer. And I'm going to give it more updated method. Okay, the guy has headaches. And he reads the instructions on the aspirin bottle and says, take 2 aspirin every 4 hours and for relief. I take 2 aspirin every 4 hours and I don't have relief. Right? And I'm suffering like this for years. Finally, I can't take it anymore. I say, Doc, what am I going to do? And it doesn't help me. He says, why don't you take 3? I take 3 and Baruch Hashem, it works. Right? Do I give a Gresham Yashikech to the doctor? He's so smart. What a genius. He figured out that you take 3 aspirin, you'll be cured. Think though, nah. I mean, I should have figured it out myself and tried it better. I was 2 chickens. If I didn't take 3 aspirin. What happens, though, if the doctor would say, if you want to be cured from this headache, you got to walk around the block 4 times and then stand on your head for 5 minutes, and you won't have it anymore. And you do it, and it works. Wow, what a genius, right? He knows the body so well that he can tell me that I do such this mishugasan, and that's what's going to help me. So the more strange the cure is, the more great the person is. So if chayk works, so that we understand. So I'll tell you a story that actually happened by us in Yeshiva. We built koil houses, and there was like one young man was more or less like in charge dealing with the sod and all this type of stuff. The gardeners. Who are the gardeners? The Mexicans. So, but the Mexicans, they're different than other types of Latinos. They happen to be fume, and they're usually family oriented. So one of me says, I'm leaving now, but I got to ask you one question. He says, I have 4 children, and they're on each other's throat all the time. And here I'm here for over 2 weeks. I saw over 100 kids together. I never saw one fight. What is it that you do? I want to know what you do. Explain to them what you do. How you raise your kid. You can explain that to him? Okay. And Levus, what does it mean? That got one more point. Yeah. Now, I don't even understand the whole kasha of Rashi, or the goyim. Isn't that what we all do? Your husband somehow wants to please his wife. He stepped over the line somewhere, and he wants to please his wife and say, I'm sorry, right? What does he do? He buys what? Besides another $1,000 piece of jewelry, okay, maybe that would work. But if he's not in that league, he goes out not to Costco, not to, whatever the guy's name is, that they get the flowers at this and this price by the garage. I go into a florist, and I buy long stem roses, right? And they're about this big. And I bring them home to my wife, 2 dozen at least, and it's a couple of $100. And she sees it, and she's, oh, well, wonderful. Well, now Shalom arrives in the house. Now the question is what we do with the flowers, right? We don't have a vase for them, right? You will cut them down, so what's the point of buying the long stem roses, okay? So obviously we've got to find something that's going to hold the long stem roses. The only thing we have is the tall garbage can. Okay, so we'll put it in the tall garbage can. Okay, now where are we going to put this garbage can? We're going to put it in the dining room. We only use the dining room Shabbos. Let's put it in the kitchen. It has no tzur. Okay, so we'll have to put it in the dining room. Okay. Put it in the dining room, and maybe the wife, when she passes through the dining room every so often during the day, she looks at the flowers again and feels good. My husband spent all that money on for me, whatever it is. Okay. It comes after, what do you call it? It comes Shabbos, finally. And now everyone's going to see my flowers, right? And I put it on the table, right? And someone says, can you please move the flowers? I can't see you. You notice by chasnas now they make them very high, very low. Okay, you can't see you. So now the flowers are off the table again and all the things. About Sunday or Monday they start smelling, and you have to get out of the house because all of a sudden the smell is too bad. And it was wasted. Whatever money he spent on it was wasted. You couldn't have bought me something that lasts or something like that. No, I want the flowers. So what's your kasha? The Rebbeinu Shalom is asking you, you want to prove you love me? Buy me a paraduma. That's what I asked you for. You don't want to buy it, then you don't love me. Where do we have it? We're buying Shmuel Matzah this year. You learn it pretty good, that you love God. Right? Okay. You bought a Sregim right the last couple of years, you learned that also. Okay, so all of a sudden, I'm willing to pay. Why am I willing to pay? Because I want to show I'm willing to waste money for you, Rebbeinu Shalom. I love you, and I'm willing to do it. So what's your kasha? So that's why you have a paradum. So what's everybody does it. This is what I think is the kasha. Even though Rashi doesn't exactly seem to say it, but if we know the halachas, I guess paradum, we'd say it. Dama ben Nesina was a guy. If a goy, we can't. If a parah aduma is born by a goy, we must buy it the first day that it's born, because if he puts on that parah aduma, on that animal, a weight, it passes it. So we have to get out of his reshus at that time, the first day. And at that day, we're willing to pay kol hain di alma. Kol hain di alma. When is it? When is this eglo? It's an eglo. It's not a parah. When is this eglo going to become a parah that's going to be part of a mutter to make a parah aduma out of it? 2 years, 3 years down the line, whatever the halacha, when it changes an eglo into a parah. Till then, you have to keep it, right? And hope that that 2 hairs won't turn black, right? What are you kidding? I'll prove it to you. Didn't we have in the last couple of years, it's a few years already since then, I think we had about 3 parah adumas at the same time and around the world, right? Mashiach's coming tomorrow and you have the parah aduma ready, we're all ready, right? What happened to those parah adumas? Where are they? Why don't we hear about them? Because they're not parah adumas. That's why. And therefore the same thing over here. So that's what this is. So as a suffix, to pay kol hain the alma on a suffix that's going to last from a day old to 3 years old, that I'm not investing millions and billions of dollars on. That's a guy. We would, either we have the betochen that the bench made a parah aduma because we need it, or later for whatever it is there. Maybe even these parah adumas he made, if it would have been good enough, maybe he wouldn't help it. Who knows? Okay. That is basically chayk. From there, we come to Parshas Chodesh, which is this Shabbos, okay? And we talk about the Korban Pesach. The Korban Pesach is really our chinuch. Tells us completely how to be mechanech kids. The Korban Pesach, first we're not allowed to have no mevushel. Can't have long-term types of cooking. I want you to be, if you want to raise a good kid, you have to keep your eye on him all the time. If you don't keep your eye on him all the time, you don't have that control. And therefore, no, give you raw. Can't be raw because raw doesn't need any preparation. So therefore, I don't have to keep my eye on it. Mevushel, I put it on the slow cooker and leave him go to work for 12 hours, and then come home, and he'll still be cooking. It's also no good, right? The only thing about sliesh, and the only is the grill. Now, we don't want the gas grill. I mean, I'm learning about these things now. The gas grill, passionate. Why? Because everything's so even. Your thing there goes on the fire, and it goes this, and it goes out the blood evenly. That's not what I want. I want, here it should be sizzled, burnt. Here I want it to be raw, and stuff like that. And that was, when it drops the blood, all of a sudden a big fire shoots up, it burns the outside of it. You like that? Okay, you like it, let's get on your tongue, you like it. Okay, but that's how you're supposed to watch it. A fire just jumped up, make sure it doesn't hit it. On a grill, on a gas grill, it's not going to help you. I want it, that's called levushel. I want it on a sli eish. I want fire. I want fire to jump up. I want you to make sure that you jump it out of the way, it shouldn't get burnt. Stuff like that. That's how you get a good kid. If you don't do that, there's no chinuch. So that's basically what the Korban Pesach is supposed to teach it to us. Now, how it teaches it to us simply is because the Rebbeinu Shalom was mafchim between the Mitzri and the Yid. In other words, what's the difference between the Mitzri and the Yid? The Eloi V'Aved Zorah, the Eloi V'Aved Zorah. Why did God say kill this guy, not this guy? Both the Aved Zorah guys. A Yid's not a goy. No matter what you are, you're not a goy. I don't know that much history about it, but whatever I know about it, we saw it Kolo. Trotsky and Stalin both made a revolution against the Tsar. They killed out millions of people, but their reasons were different. Trotsky wanted to help the poor person. So Memele, how do I help the first person? Like America wants to do now, make everybody poor, or make everybody whatever you can do. That's how I'm going to help them. But the Maisa, I'm doing something for the people. Stalin did it for power, and therefore the Yid is not a goy. Now with the Yid, even with the worst Yid, his motives at least are going to be in the inyanim of Tov for the world. Or his hasoga, obviously, it's not going to be according to what the Torah wants. Okay. So basically, that's the thing. And the basic point of matzah shmura, which is also brought down here, the only time we need matzah shmura, by the way, is only to the Seder. We are not mechuyev to eat it the whole time. The only reason I think we eat for the whole time, because you want to be ate to the gra that he holds for every kezayis matzah, that will hear shmura, that we eat on Pesach, we'll get a mitzvah hasei, so therefore, why not? It's a cheap way of getting the mitzvah hasei, so we'll do it. But the ma'aseh, it's the chiyuv is only on the first night. It's only by the Seder. It's the only time you have a chiyuv to have shmura matzah. Basically, it's to tell you why we're going out of Mitzrayim. It's to be negated to this Seder, and it's also to Shabbos HaGodel, basically. What day do we remember? In Parshas Kadesh. Right? It's remembered Yom Tzeis Chameres Mitzrayim. Remember today that you went out of Mitzrayim. We'll see a very strange Lashonis. We say the Lashon Yetzias Mitzrayim. The translation of Yetzias Mitzrayim, it may work out didactically wise, but it's probably more correct if you didn't use the Lashon Yetzias Mitzrayim, because Yetzias Mitzrayim means Mitzrayim left. Right? It didn't say Yisrael, Yisrael means Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim left. Where did Mitzrayim leave? Mitzrayim didn't leave anywhere, didn't go, and he's still in North Africa. So what do you mean Yetzias Mitzrayim? Okay. Yeah. And also you remember Yom Tzeis Chameres Mitzrayim. Now if we learned Gemara on Rosh Hashanah, we would learn that we became free on Rosh Hashanah. 6.5 months earlier than we went out of Mitzrayim. So if you're free, so what are you doing a cup for? What's this, all the makkahs that we had afterwards and so on and forth? There are 4 degrees to freedom. The 4 degrees of freedom are the 4 cases that we drink. We could have, if you're going to take every synonym to the word freedom, you probably could have another 35 of them, and I don't think anybody's going to last unless we make his revius down to about this much. But otherwise, they ain't going to make it, right? So, what's the purpose, right? What are the 4 steps? Take a look at the Lashonis. Yeah. L'chein amon ani Hashem v'tzeisas mitachas sivleis Mitzrayim, the avodas perach of Mitzrayim, took you out of the sivleis Mitzrayim. In other words, the first step was you're not slave laborers to the point where it breaks your back. It also gave us a chance to prepare for ourselves. You know, we all talk about the Emancipation Proclamation. Emancipation Proclamation. Anyway, Lincoln, he did a wonderful thing. He freed the slaves, right? What did he free the slaves? At 12:01, this day, all slaves are in the South that are considered by Southerners are free. Okay, so they all became free. And everybody's jumping up and hallelujah and all this type in there, and they're coming. Now, this is 7 o'clock in the morning, let's say, I don't know, whatever it was. 12 o'clock, they're back for lunch. The boss says to them, what are you guys doing here? What do you mean, what are we doing here? We came for lunch, right? You don't work for me anymore. You guys are free. Go get your own lunch. But we don't have any money. You don't have any jobs. Nobody's going to pay for us. That's your problem. So what did we solve? What did we do? Or did we create a new society of people who had to fend for themselves and steal and rob and everything else in order to be able to live? Right? So he didn't really do much, if you really think about it. What do? We have Anoke. You have an Eved Ivri, you got to free him after 6 years. You got to give him from here, because he's got to have a retainer until he gets another job. When you fire somebody, you got to give two weeks at least of something or other. You can't just fire Stamazeh. You got to give a person that he can live until he gets another job. You can't just throw a person out. That's what they did. Okay, so I'm saying, so I don't know how big that is, but that's why maybe it took the 4 steps. I didn't do it in one shot. If I did it in one shot, you wouldn't have what to do. So what's the second step? Now you don't work at all. You're free. But you know what you are? You're a second-class citizen. I will describe for you a second-class citizen. That happened to me in 1950. Okay? I was bar mitzvah that year, and I had a cousin that was a Rav in Washington, D.C., and we went to Washington, D.C. to spend, I guess, whatever it is. I went with my friend, Mendel Kaufman. And he was his brother, and we went to the thing there. And we go to the capital. And with Baruch Hashem, we start off the representative side, and we get all the droshes about John Quincy Adams, all the droshes that you learned in school. Okay, we go weiter, we're passing to go to the center side. The guy, there's a guard in the middle, he says, get that hat off your head. What hat? Not talking to me, I have no hat on my head. Get that beanie off your head, right? Get the beanie, I can't, this is my religion. How am I supposed to get out of this building? At that time, you walked into a public library, you had to remove your hat, your yarmulke. Just happened to be in Jewish neighborhoods, they didn't enforce it. That's a fact. Ad Hayyim, until I heard that they just passed the special law for the Arab, that she can cover her hair. In the Congress, you are not allowed to cover your hair. You weren't allowed to do it in the Supreme Court either. The lawyers were not allowed to, and all of a sudden you're allowed to. But to actually be a representative in the Congress, you are not allowed to wear any covering in the Congress. And they passed a special law. So if you have a former Yid, maybe that wants to wear yarmulke, and he won the election, maybe he'll also be able to wear yarmulke. But that's about it. But we get in on them. That's a second-class citizen. You want to be a citizen in this country? Fine, no problem, as a goy. You want to take a test on Shabbos? All tests are given on Shabbos. I'm sorry, you can't participate? Sorry, what can we do? You're not a Christian. The last madrega is what we are now, that if you're a Sabbath observer, they have to give you a different zman. They have to try to accommodate you as a Sabbath observer. So all of a sudden, we are equal. And I think that's the 4 cases. If we would have been the Ivesi, the 5th one, if we had our own country, then there would have been pshat. That's an Israeli. That's the thing. This Mameli is entitled to be able to do his own minhagim. But if you're an American, you can't do all these minhagim. And I think maybe that's pshat. Chesed Nurayach. What chesed? The Benshi took us out there. What do you mean chesed Nurayach? We had no choice, right? The fact that you were able to be free and stay in Mitzrayim, and want to stay in Mitzrayim. Stay in Mitzrayim, you died doing choshech. But that you wanted to stay in Mitzrayim, that would have killed you. But Chesed Nurayach, all these 600,000 that wanted to come out, that is the Chesed Nurayach. You had the freedom, you could stay in Mitzrayim. There's nothing there as far as you're concerned. And you still wanted to stay in Mitzrayim, go out, that's the Chesed Nurayach that the Benshim did, that we did for the Benshim. A second thing, I'll end off with this thing because to get into Shabbos Hagadol it's next week really, so I get an excuse. Okay, is the point of the Ukraine, and I'm not telling you any jokes about Mashiach. They don't bother me. What is the Rebbeinu Shem doing? You know, we say the bracha, how do we call it? The Kabbalah for God L'Chereseinu, right? So what's going to be? We expect. Somehow the Shofar Gadol is going to blow, and now we're all coming, right? We're all coming. How is it going to blow? I don't know. Where it's going to blow, it's going to be on the internet, the place, and how the Kabbalah Shofar Gadol is going to help. But one thing I have a kasha. It ends off, the It doesn't say Mikabis Am Yisrael. Mikabis Nitchei Am Yisrael, the leftovers. That means the guys originally, all the good guys, the Hamayim, they went already. Well, why'd they go? Because I made enough tzoros where they came from that they had to go. And they left over nobody. Oh, how many Jews in Asia now? How many Jews in Africa? How many Jews in Europe is whatever it is, but still enough, but there's not the numbers that there were. Basically, you're too comfortable in France, out of there. You're too comfortable in Germany, out of there. And where do you go? To Eretz Yisrael. I remember when the state was proclaimed, there was less than 1 million people there. Now, it's the largest kibbutz of Yidden in Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because simply for Mashiach to come, there has to be the Jews in Eretz Yisrael, as they state in the Maftelis. It doesn't say that they think he's coming. When I'm going to come to Harav, where are they attacking? If the Jews are not living there, who are they attacking? All of us, the Yidden, are in Eretz Yisrael. And the thing there, now the Shiur, we're the only ones left, really. When is our turn going to come? I have no idea. And for what? For good or bad? In other words, I'm not scaring anybody. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I don't know anything what's happening in the world. So all I know is what seems to be going on. With the administration that we have certain kindness to it. Oh, if we had the other administration, right? Do you think the other administration is going to be any better anymore? Why? Because they want to make sure that this administration doesn't become again. So they're going to make laws, dictatorship laws, that just like they want to make now, that they can't be. They'll become in, they're going to make laws that this can't be. And therefore we're going to be back to a dictatorship, one side or the other. It doesn't make a difference. When we see that, I tell you, take your passport, make sure it's in good, what do you call it, standing, and leave. Because by Hitler Benechet, you can't risk in the beginning. It's later that you couldn't go out. And the thing, though, is the thing there, you got to keep your eye open. What's going to happen here? I don't know what's going to happen. Right now, people, when it first happened, we're going, I'm moving to Republican states. About this thing, though, I'm living in New York, I'm going to Florida, I'm going to move, there's no taxes, there's no this, there's no that. Now look at the Zachar. So why are you still in New York? I paid my taxes already, like this, and I like it up here. I've been always up here. Why should I want to go down there? Whatever it is there. That's how we can think, and that's what other people thought. And that's what we have to be careful. But I don't know when the Reishim can do it b'shalom. So I have no, I'm not telling you this is going to happen. I'm just telling you that I don't know what's going to happen. And if you don't know what's going to happen, you got to be prepared. You can't just say, nothing's going to happen because nothing's going to happen. Because I said so. You said so means nothing. We know that. And no one expected the world to look like it does now. That's for sure. Right? And the thing there, and all the shikorim that got through, and everything else that was shaykh in the election, whatever it is, this emes or not, I have no idea. I don't read your TED, so I can only tell you what it says on the part over there that says quoted and cited and quoted or something like that. So I know a little bit of those things. The past that I don't know too much, but you see what they're screaming now. Okay, they're screaming. That means there's something was not good, not push it. So why didn't you do something about it? Because I couldn't do anything about it. Couldn't do anything about it, and that's the problem. You have to protect yourselves against. Anyway, it should all lead to Shabbos HaGadol, which is about Mashiach, and that should be end with the tactic Kabbalah HaGadol. However the pshat is, whatever it means, we should always say this year, and we can still make the Golden Pesach. Good Shabbos, everyone. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Shabbos, I didn't say it, yeah. Amen. Good Shabbos. Shabbos, good Shabbos. Shabbos. Oh. We should get to him before Shabbos. Okay, I don't know if you hear all the stories, you know, and then he says this guy not getting on around. The big Chochim killed, so we also been killed. Right, that's what I'm saying. So we also can kill it. What's the guy want to know about killing a mother? He also wants to kill him. Unfortunately. They should not notice. Shabbos, how are you? That's the best part around. Shabbos. So, I'm sorry I don't hear you. You have to pray for every day. You keep praying with kavanah. You make it right in the bracha in the morning, and avarabba. You ask for sweet, good, tzak, do it right.
We'll have to catch up with him.
If the guys show up, you'll show up. Okay. Good Shabbos. You heard about taking care of yourself over there.
Huh?
You heard about taking care of yourself over there.
Let's run for a second for Allah.
Yeah. How is
Ask what the Rosh Yeshiva's father, turning off the gas and Yontif. Turning off the gas and Yontif.
Yes.
What did the Rosh Yeshiva's father?
Yes.
You could.
Yes.
Without any.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But he said he doesn't want to be false in it, but the whole world knows it, so it doesn't make a difference.
Right. So the Jew is just that.
But the idea is because people don't know the difference in years and electric.
Right.
Electric is also years and